Before coins, before banks, before paper money, East Africa was already trading with shells. These tiny shells once controlled trade, power, and everyday life across the entire region. Ever wonder why shells became money? And who accepted them? From coastal towns like Kilwa and Mombasa to the deep inland trade routes, cowrie shells functioned as real money. And they weren't chosen randomly. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why cowries worked as a currency and why they eventually disappeared. Let's start with the basics. What are cowrie shells? Money didn't begin as metal, it started as nature. Cowries are smooth, durable seashells that are easy to recognize and incredibly hard to fake. They feel pleasant to handle, and most importantly, they were naturally scarce inland. But scarcity alone isn't enough to make something money. So, why did East Africa specifically accept cowries? Not every society accepts the same currency. The region's deep connection to the Indian Ocean trade meant that traders from distant lands already trusted and used cowries. They were widely recognizable and accepted across different cultures, making them perfect for the diverse local trade needs. But here's a twist: cowries didn't even originate in East Africa. They arrived via maritime routes from places as far away as the Maldives, linking Africa with Arabia and India. They were traded alongside cloth, beads, and spices, passing from port to port until they became a standardized form of payment. Think about why cowries worked so well as a currency. Good money solves problems. Cowries were portable, countable, durable, and easily divisible for smaller purchases. Their distinct shape made them instantly recognizable. This was a huge upgrade from barter, which often breaks down quickly. With cowries, you didn't need to find someone who wanted your exact goods. Transactions were faster, setting prices was easier, and disputes were reduced. This wasn't just abstract money, it was the engine of daily life. What could you buy with cowries? Everything from food and portions of livestock to tools, household goods, and services. The bustling coastal cities like Kilwa, Mombasa, Lamu, and Zanzibar were epicenters of cowrie trade. These ports were alive with traders, families, and merchants, all using shells to power their economy. And money travels. Cowries didn't just stay on the coast. They were carried by caravans deep into the interior, linking the coast to inland kingdoms. This enabled long-distance trade, increased the flow of wealth, and helped unify vast regions under a shared economic system. But how did they even count them? Even shell money had its own math. Cowries were often strung together in groups of 40, or bundled into standard quantities of 100 or 1,000. Value was determined by count, which made record-keeping and large transactions much simpler. Naturally, whoever controlled the supply of cowries held immense power. This included the big traders, local chiefs, middlemen, and coastal elites who managed the trade networks. Money has always been tied to authority. Cowries were used to pay tributes, they were stored as a sign of wealth, and displayed publicly during ceremonies. Having a large quantity of shells was a direct indicator of your social status. They were used in dowries, passed down through families as inheritance, and seen as a symbol of success and stability. But their significance went beyond economics. Cowries were used in rituals, held spiritual associations, and became a key part of cultural identity and decoration. So why were they trusted so deeply? Trust is what makes any form of money real. Their familiar shape, the difficulty in counterfeiting them, and their widespread community acceptance made them reliable. Repeated use over generations cemented their value. But no currency lasts forever. Cowries had their limitations. They were bulky in large amounts, making big transactions cumbersome. Their supply could fluctuate, and transporting thousands of them was a challenge. Over time, these inefficiencies started to show. Then came the introduction of metal coins. This change didn't happen overnight. Foreign influence from traders brought coins that had a higher value density, were easier to store, and were backed by official mints. As trade grew more complex, the advantages of coins became clearer. When you compare them, you're really looking at old money versus new money. Shells were natural, coins were manufactured. They represented entirely different trust systems and economies. One didn't just replace the other, there was a gradual transition. In fact, cowries didn't vanish immediately. They continued to be used for local, everyday transactions, especially in rural areas where cultural attachment remained strong. For a long time, both systems ran in parallel. The real turning point was the colonial impact. European powers standardized their own coinage and demanded that taxes be paid in coins, not shells. This policy forced a massive economic shift and accelerated the decline of the cowrie. Today, old cowrie money still matters. You can find them in museums and private collections, where they serve as educational tools and precious cultural artifacts. But does that mean they're valuable today? Age doesn't automatically equal value. The worth of an individual cowrie depends on its condition, its rarity, and its historical context. Often, their cultural value far outweighs their monetary price. There are a few common myths about cowrie money. Not all cowries were used as currency, and their value depended heavily on the specific region and time period. The history of cowrie currency teaches us a fundamental lesson: money is a social agreement. Trust, utility, and acceptance are what create value. Power influences what we use as money, and change is the only constant. This history still matters because modern money didn't just appear from nowhere. Understanding cowries helps explain the evolution of economic systems, showcases incredible African innovation, and preserves a vital part of our shared heritage. Cowries were just the beginning of a long and fascinating story. Long before banks and paper money, East Africa already understood value, trust, and trade. In the next episode, we'll explore how gold and silver coins began to replace shells, and, more importantly, who controlled them. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden histories.